you go. I guess I will get it. So New Brighton is a project that we started a year ago. And for people who don't know, it's right in the northeast corner. When you come over the Second Narrows, you can see the freeway going by. There is the Viterra terminals, and New Brighton is nestled in the area. You can see the PNE and the racetrack are right in the area. And the area that we're working in sort of came out of a marine restoration project that happened in 2016. I think they started planning for it around 2012, 2013, doing the planning. And on the east side, they dug out an area trying to restore the marine habitat, which has been quite successful. And they took the fill and took it over to the west side of the park, right by the port property. And you can see me sort of circling. It's just to the west of where the off-leash dog area is. And this shows a shot of it. They did plant trees, but it was very dry in the year 2017. And all of the shrubs that they planted died. And the only thing that survived was the Scotch broom and Himalayan blackberry. So this is a shot from 2021, the hillock on the west side, and you can see a couple hundred Scotch broom plants that just kept growing and multiplying and getting bigger. And you can see that it was pretty significant. And we approached the park board and said, can we help out in getting rid of it? And this was back in December of 2021. And so January 24th of 2022, Ian Clegg, Paul Calderhead, and myself, we did our very first invasive removal. And this is pulling out Scotch broom. It's in the winter where the soil's wet. So the roots are a little bit looser. And with that gizmo, which is called an extracticator, you clamp it at the bottom over the root, and it allows you to use leverage. And you can actually pull shrubs up to 5, 6 or taller right out of the ground, and taking the roots with them. So that's Paul and Ian at the very first start of taking out Scotch broom. And that was the pile that they generated on that first day on January 24th. And then a week later, we had our second party, which we had more people, and we took out more. And so we ended up with a bigger pile. And it was hard work, and it was incredibly satisfying. In addition to the Scotch broom, there also was blackberry. And this is a clump on the fence that is between the park and the port. And that clump of blackberry was about 20, 25 feet long, and up to about 10 feet wide. And that's on February 9th. And then this group of people, many of which who are here tonight, worked, and you can see they've taken out 1/2 of the clump on the park side. So that's clearing that out pretty substantially in I think it was just one work session. And you can see February 13th, we're building up more and more piles of invasives. And it took a couple of months for the Parks Board to pick them up. So it was getting kind of comic how much we were generating. This was an interesting challenge because the park butts up right to the port where they have a tractor trailer area. And there's a 5-meter wide strip that was absolutely packed with Scotch broom and blackberry. And it didn't make sense taking stuff out of the park when it would just be reseeded from the port property. And that's where having Nature Vancouver as an independent society was fabulous, because I was able to email the port, and I think I just picked a name out of their listings and said, hey, we're cleaning up the park. Can we get access to the port? And within an hour, I had someone reply to me and say, I'll find the right person. And they put us in touch with Charlotte Olson, who you can see with the safety vest. and that's my wife Sue there. And that we're in that 5 meter wide strip, and you couldn't walk through it. It's so thick. And so that is the port side that we were able to get permits and approval to have Nature Vancouver and other volunteers get into. And so we're starting to work. It's February 26th, a few weeks on. That is Alex and her daughter, Sam, who arrived, heard about it and arrived, and helped a good half dozen times. It was fabulous having them. Sam is in, or was in grade 11 last year. And for high school kids, they have to have volunteer work. And this qualified her for her volunteer work. So, and they just enjoyed it. Behind is Vivian, who's a regular volunteer, and Sue. And you can see that is the same spot that was there a couple weeks before. And we're still working at it. There's March 5th. We're still working on that strip, taking more Scotch broom out. But by the end of that day on March 5th, that we had cleared out everything in that 5 meter strip. It's about 130 meters to the water. And it's amazing how much we were able to get out. After March, we then got an order from the Vancouver Park Board for, I think it was about 800 plants. And so we started planting. And we planted, and the weather, you can see, it's kind of dicey. It was amazing. We had a dozen or more work parties. We never got rained on. We got spat on a bit, just a sprinkle, but all of those times we managed to avoid the winter rains. And this is April 9th. We're starting to put in different native roses. You can see the pile of Scotch broom on the left-hand side. This is jumping forward to the fall, where we're doing our fall planting. And at that point, we had put in an order back in July for about 300 plants. And we did not get delivery of the plants till November 17th, which I wasn't too worried about, because I thought Vancouver, you know, it'll be warm and rainy till Christmas. And then if you remember, at the end of November, we had that incredible cold snap, and all of the plants were sitting unprotected just on the port property. So it became an absolute imperative to get them planted before the cold, because I don't know how they would survive unprotected in that cold that we had. So in 3 days, we had something like 35 people volunteer, a total of 100 work days. A workday is 2.5 hours, and we put in 306 plants, and it was just such an amazing effort. It was fabulous. And those were hard days. They were like 2.5, 3 hours, which when you're digging holes, this soil is awful, and you're really sore by the end of it. And yet everybody is grinning. It is such an uplifting thing to be doing it. So this is what it looks like November 28th. That was taken about 3 hours before we had that first freeze. All of the plants were either 2-gallon, 1-gallon size pots, or 4-inch goldenrod plants. All of them, we dug them out big enough such that we were able to fold over the sod, the grass, upside down, so it gave a little bit of breathing space for each plant. We dug them deep enough that we could get leaf mulch underneath to help with water retention in the summer. Dug below the area to loosen it up, so again, the water could get in to give the plant a better chance. And then put leaf mulch on the top. So there's no guarantees, but we've done everything we can to increase the odds that they're going to survive through the summer and the spring, or the spring and summer. Last year's spring plants, probably most of the perennials died just because they were too small, planted too late, and then we had that dry stretch from August through till October. And I'll say a little bit more about that later. This is standing in the middle of the dog park and using my iPhone to do a pano shot of that hillock. And you can, I'm not sure, depending on your computer, it's dotted by about 300 little spots where perennials have been planted. And what I'm planning to do is go back there every couple of weeks and take another picture. And assuming that we're successful, I'm hoping we're going to have the purples of Douglas asters, we're going to have the yellows and golds of goldenrod, and then we'll have large leaf lupin, which probably is primarily purple, but have this beautiful hillside of the flowers. And these are photographs. I grabbed the two top ones from the internet, so they're not my pictures, but the Douglas aster, the goldenrod, and then the large-leafed lupin, and hoping that we get them to grow on the hillside. This is looking at the shoreline from the hillock, and again, using a pano on the phone. And the things that you can see there, the one thing is the amount of blackberry that is down by the shoreline. And that is our focus for the next 4 or 5 weeks. And we're able to take that out now before the nesting season for birds happens. So we're doing a focused push, and we're going to be putting in as many work days as we can to get out the clumps of blackberry before that deadline. And this is, I wanted to give sort of an idea of some of the tools of the trade. And on the top, you can see the shovels, the large pickaxe. This blue mattock here, it's about 2 feet long, and we used it from our summer camps for digging biffy holes. And that is the single best implement when you're digging out blackberry, because it's not too big. You can really get down in around the roots, and it allows you to lever out the roots way better than digging out with a shovel or anything else. And then of course there's clippers, and the orange implement is the extracticator, which we used on the Scotch broom, but you can also use on blackberry. If you've dug it up a bit, you use the extracticator to lever the blackberry roots out. It does not have, so some of the work is really pretty intensive, but there's a lot of other stuff. There's jobs for people who are not able to work as hard, whether it's carrying the debris, whether it's digging out smaller blackberry and Scotch broom shoots that are coming up from the area we cleared. So whatever your level of ability, we really can use your help. And also back in the fall, we'll have planting. So having help there. So this was last Sunday. Jeff Prowse is on the right. He is a regular. He's been done, I think, 6 or 7. Cameron just arrived from the United Kingdom 3 months ago, heard about it and came out, and he just got hooked, had a great time. And from last Sunday, this is Alex, who worked with her daughter in the spring. And this is clearing out the area that we're going to be focusing on along the shoreline. And we pile everything on tarps, haul it to one area, and then build a pile. So, and again, it's hard work. Everybody's grinning. It is just so satisfying. The other aspect in the foreground is another real concern is reed canary grass. And you can see it there growing. Fortunately, at New Brighton, they're still discrete clumps, so they can be dug out by hand, which as soon as we're past that blackberry period where we can't dig out any more blackberry, we want to be digging out the reed canary grass, and then we'll put in perennials and native shrubs once they're out. This shows the colony farm area where it's completely covered by the reed canary. And Susan was pointing out to me that what was it? Tom Wolfe was saying that the hawks, it's an incredible problem for them because they can see their prey when they're flying, but the canary grass is so thick they can't get at their prey. So it has really detrimental effects. And if we can prevent it from taking over at New Brighton, for that alone, it's a really worthwhile project. This is some of the groups. This is in the spring. We've done 2.5, 3 hours. It's a lot of work and everybody is happy. It is just so satisfying. And incredible range. I think our youngest person has been 15, oldest 81. So for 15-year-old to 81-year-old working together, every type, every background, it is wonderfully satisfying. And it just makes all of us better having things like that go on. This shot is, I think, really cool. On the left side is Bill Ramey, right side is Bev Ramey, who anyone from Nature Vancouver will know. Next to Bill is Charlotte Olson and Nick Kemp, and they're with the Port of Vancouver. Next to Bev is, well, in the center is Krista Voth, and Omar Alexander next to Bev. Krista is the stewardship coordinator for the Vancouver Park Board. Omar is an operations manager, and we were out there on December 18th to mark where we're going to put in 11 poles for putting up bird nest boxes, which Nature Vancouver paid for. And Bill is helping us and Bev get the locations for them. And it was so cool to have these different organizations, Nature Vancouver, the Cascade Bird Group, and Port of Vancouver and Vancouver Park Board, everybody working together. And it was such a neat day. It was so wonderful. This was about a week and a half ago with Peter of the Cascade Bird Group, Bill and Bev, putting up the actual boxes. The park board put the poles in after the winter cold snap and snow. So they got the poles up, they did a great job. And now we're out putting up the boxes. And this is our final box going up of the 11 and feeling pretty satisfied. And this is a pier that's right there. And Peter is describing where we should put in a box system for purple martins, which is a blue listed endangered bird. Across at Maplewood Flats, they have boxes there that has been really successful in helping the populations there. And Peter thinks, and Bill and Bev think we can put in a 3-tier box system for 12 boxes, which would be pretty exciting. So we're going to be working with the port and the park to get that put in. And just a couple of final shots about, you can see the boxes, they've been there all of a week and a half. It'll be really interesting to see if they're populated right away. And then in the fall, getting the elementary and high school kids to come out when we're cleaning them and get them involved in doing the monitoring and cleaning of the boxes, and hopefully with invasive removal and planting. And again, one final shot of the hillock. These are the plants that we put in. It's about 1,400 plants. A lot of them didn't survive. At the top, the pearly everlasting nodding onion, woolly sunflower, but there are some, so we'll see. And then the ones in the bottom, the goldenrod, Douglas aster, and large leaf lupin, I think will do much, much better. Just pictures of some of the plants. These were Kitty supplied them from her travels. She works with the David Suzuki Butterfly or Butterfly Way program. And so these are butterflies and bees that she's photographed from her plantings on the North Shore. And I guess this is what I'm hoping New Brighton can be. A small publicity, letting people know, inviting local residents and people visiting the park to help out. I actually had about 6 people contact me today wanting to help out, which I just think is fabulous. And so just some thoughts on how to help is if you could volunteer. And if you're interested to do that, email me, Nigel at Nature Vancouver, and I'll just send out notices when we're going to do a work party. And for example, we're going to be out there Saturday at noon, working for 2 hours to take the blackberry out. And if we have too many people for the tools, they'll be also taking smaller blackberry, or people who want to do not as heavy stuff, they'll be taking the smaller individual shoots. So volunteer, let other people know about the project, and just go out and check it out. It's an amazing project. It's really worthwhile, and it's worth getting involved with. And some acknowledgements. Ian Clegg, I You saw him in photographs from Pacific Spirit Park, at Jericho. I know nothing about this, so he was an incredible resource for teaching how to do things. His energy, his knowledge, his experience is incredible. Bev and Bill Ramey, giving an incredible amount of help, helping with the bird boxes. Susan, and then Peter Ward and the Cascade Bird Group. My wife, Susan Garber, has been at most of the things. Krista Voth of the Vancouver Park Board, Charlotte Olson of Port of Vancouver, Fred, Lorna, Peter, Kitty and Mike, Alex, Jeff, Paul, Sally and Stephen, Greg, and 67 volunteers. We've done in 1 year, 222 work days. It's over 700 work hours, and it's really incredibly satisfying and worthy of great pride in what we've accomplished.